Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of 13 Rings Podcast. I'm your host Lucas with my co-hosts here, Earl, Mal, and Maurice. Last podcast, we had a fun time doing a fantasy mock draft, but guess what? I mean, not a fantasy mock draft, just a fantasy draft. But guess what? We're back to the real world. We got real football stuff to talk about here. Um, Before that, does anybody want to say anything about the fantasy stuff going on? Me and Maurice did make a trade. I did get Terry McLaurin back, so I feel good about that.
He's hurt right now, but
He'll be fine for week one. No significant ligament damage.
okay.
Came back
Yeah,
next.
Yeah, people that didn't know, we made a trade after the draft and basically a 1-for-1 McLaurin for Debo Samuel.
I feel good about it because I don't think Debo's going to have the same year now that they got Christian McCaffrey in the backfield. I don't think they're going to use him as much as a runner. So that's why I made the deal.
I think they're going to utilize both of them, and Debo's still going to get his catches.
He's still going to get his catches, but the other thing is health. He's not been healthy for a full season. McLaurin's usually healthy, so that's how I feel about it. But let's go ahead and get into some preseason action, right, Maurice?
Yeah, we can definitely get into some preseason action. Depending on your team, some teams have played 3 games, some teams played 2. Uh, Philadelphia Eagles have played 2 preseason games and they're 0-2. We're just going to run down basically what we've seen so far from our teams. But speaking for my Eagles, it's kind of hard to judge right now because a lot of the starters haven't played at all. Jalen Hurts, a lot of the offensive guys haven't played any snaps in the preseason, and so I'm basically going off of what I've seen from the young guys. Um, Jalen Carter hasn't played much, but he's made flashes. Nolan Smith has definitely made flashes as well. I think the standout so far for the Eagles in preseason has been safety Sidney Brown. We talked about him on one of our earlier episodes. Safety from Illinois. He's really a downhill, hard hitting safety. Coverage wise, I haven't seen much so far. But when it comes to the run stuffing, the guy reminds me a lot of number 20 that used to play here named Brian Dawkins. Not putting that label on him.
I was about to
That's
say
not,
that's a big
yeah,
label to put on him there,
yeah,
bud.
yeah. I'm not putting that pressure on him. I think his play style is very similar to his. We will see. He's fighting the second string right now, so he's got 2 stars ahead of him. So we'll see how much time he gets going into the season. But the standout for me is definitely Brian Dawkins.
That's fair. That's fair. I've heard good things about Jalen Carter. I think one of your guys, I forget who, but one of your veterans recently said that he's something special or something along those lines. Um, so I look. I mean, it's hard to tell with a team that's like in the contender status because they're not going to play a lot of their guys. You're looking more at your depth, and you guys have solid depth. I mean, we just got to see what the young guys can do once regular season games start.
Yeah, yeah. I see something special in him. He's showing me a lot. He's showing me a lot. I'll just say that.
Okay.
Earl?
All right. I'll talk about the Cowboys preseason. Um, the we're 0-2 as well. We really haven't played any of our starters, and pretty much the second and third team has been playing. So far, from what I've seen, from what they've done, especially with their first preseason game against the Jaguars pretty much played their first team, and the second team pretty much held them to 1 touchdown, pretty much shut them out for the most part. And the second preseason game against Seattle, got a chance to see some of the guys. One guy that I thought was on the rise, he suffered a torn ACL in the first quarter, and that was Demarion Overshown. But outside of that, some of the stars that I've seen that Dallas has done in this preseason, one is Deuce Vaughn. He's had a couple of carries, and he's about 70 yards in with 2 touchdowns. Jalen Tolbert, in which is gaining more confidence as he's working to be that number 4 receiver for Dallas. And pretty much hearing from Stephen Jones, he pretty much secured that. And another player, in which is safety, Wanye Thomas. He was an undrafted free agent signing that Dallas picked up, and so far he has made quite an impression in training camp as well as the 2 preseason games. He picked off Trevor Lawrence, second play of the game, and pretty much has been a force, especially hitting down near the linebacker spot. Pretty good coverage, and he's definitely a hard-hitting safety, about 6'3", 217, and I'm getting kind of shades of Roy Williams back when Dallas had him as safety.
Overshown was such a blow for you guys. I'm so sorry about that, Earl. I really had big things for him. He was on my radar this year.
It's all good. I'm kind of next man up right now. He was definitely rising on the depth chart, especially in the linebacker room. Him and Damone Clark made like an incredible tandem from what I saw in the Jacksonville game. And with Mozzie Smith pretty much just plugging the middle, he gave the linebackers time to run free. It was just kind of a shame because Overshown, he got injured on a play, like just a simple tackle in which his leg got from under him, and from the instant replay, you saw something in his knee like pop, and that was pretty much it. So far, I've heard that he's kind of bummed out about it, but he's going to come back stronger next season, and I'm looking forward to seeing his progression, getting better, and getting back on the field to finally play a regular season game when the time comes. So.
Yeah, certainly never good when a key player gets injured. I will say Deuce Vaughn has really been a shell shock for me. I thought you were overhyping him a little bit, Earl. I'm not going to lie, but you know what? He's performed well. And look, him and Tony Pollard can make a nice 1-2 punch. I don't think Tony should be the feature back, but you know what? Him and Deuce Vaughn can definitely share the load there. If you don't mind, Maurice, I'm going to get to my team.
All right, go ahead.
So, by the way, Mal must have been drinking some Haterade over this past weekend because after the Commanders win against her boyfriend's Baltimore Ravens, I was getting some hate on TikTok. Not gonna lie. Maybe it was
Me?
because
I didn't send any hate.
Oh, Mal.
The eye roll emoji.
Yeah. That was, enough was said or wasn't said there. You know, but that's okay though. That's okay.
That was a good game. I actually got really excited for football after that game. It felt like very competitive.
Yeah, it was competitive. Both teams were trying to win. And you know what? Let me just say this, Sam Howell. Let's talk about, he played a half of football there, just a half. This is his stats. I just want to read this to you. We'll talk about more Sam Howell in a little bit about training camp stuff, but he had 188 yards and 2 touchdowns, had 2 sacks, but was 19 of 25 in one half. Now, I don't expect him to throw 25 times in a single half every single game, but you know, it was indicative to show the guy's really, you know, taking stride here in preseason because he played well against the Browns too. He had let me pull this up real quick. He had 77 yards on 12 attempts, 9 completions, and 1 touchdown. Only 1 sack there. But you know what? I'll attribute the sacks to the poor offensive line. And we'll talk about that more later. But Sam Howell really has been impressive. I like Chris Rodriguez. He was our 6th round pick. He's you know what, he's led the team both times in games in terms of like rushing yards, total rushing yards, which granted none of the backs are getting a lot of run, but they're all getting a little bit of run. Antonio Gibson's look good, Brian Robinson's look good, the running back room looks really good. Wide receivers, Dami Brown, you know what, he's reconnected with his old college quarterback and he's starting to show off. He had a touchdown against the Ravens there. And Kazmir Allen, he's our punt returner, but he had a good game against punt and kickoff returner, and he's looking good. Cole Turner has been stepping up big since the injury to Amani Rogers. He's our backup tight end. And then on top of that, I just want to say that I'm really impressed with how our first round pick, EJ. Gosh, why am I blank? Huh?
Emmanuel Forbes.
Emmanuel Forbes. Sorry, I was thinking of EJ Manuel for some reason. No, Emmanuel Forbes. He's looked good in this preseason as well. Hasn't made like a lot of like quote unquote big plays, but he's held his own. He's not been like bullied around by these wide receivers, which was my concern. And I'm impressed. You know, the worry is the offensive line, but everything else looks really solid to me. So I'm liking it.
Lucas, was that your starting offensive line this previous preseason game?
I'll be honest. I could only watch highlights because I don't have my YouTube Plus, YouTube TV right now. I believe it is. I believe they started their starting offensive line. And you know that's the problem. Is the offensive line. There's just too many holes. And when we lost Brandon Sheffer in free agent 2 years ago to the Jacksonville Jags, that was a big hit. Losing Trent Williams was also a big hit a couple years ago, but that didn't seem like that was going to be fixed. But our offensive line has always been an issue in the last couple years, and I don't know if we're going to be able to work around it, but we're definitely going to try. They have gotten better than last year. I do say they look better, but better from last year is not saying much.
Okay. Let me ask you a question, Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
Has Sam Howell thrown the ball to McLaurin and the rest of his starting receivers?
Oh, yeah, no. McLaurin had 3 catches for 39 yards, and Dotson had 76 yards in this past game. Those two. And Dotson also had a touchdown against the Browns as well. And it was a really nice play because he got the ball right in the pocket and he made 2 defenders collide into each other, and he popped pretty much right through those 2 and got a touchdown on the play. Dawson's going to be, put out for a second season. He's going to come out with a big second year. I'm feeling it.
Okay.
So Earl, you might have gotten a steal in that draft. We'll see.
Hey,
I
told you from the start where I knew Terry McLaurin at some point is going to get double covered and Dotson's going to be open. So I went for the guy that more than likely will be open.
Fair.
You have a lot of young talent and offense. If you guys can put it together, you might have an explosive offense in Washington.
The biggest issue is the offensive line. If the offensive line can get their stuff together, then I think we'll be okay. But that's the big question here. Can they play well enough? I don't know. And fun fact here on the side, I'm looking at the box score for the Ravens Commanders game right now, and they have a wide receiver called Tarek Black, which is hilarious because there was an NBA player back in 2015 for the Lakers called Tarek Black too. I don't know if you remember him, Maurice, but
I do.
Yeah, so that's a little. I obviously it can't be the same guy. If it is, I'd be very surprised. But just fun fact how they share names sometimes.
All right, and round it out now. What you got for the Giants?
Yeah, cool. So let's talk about the Giants. So I will focus a little more on the preseason game we had against the Panthers. Our starters played for a little bit there. But the first week we are 1-1. We lost to the Lions the first week. And my biggest thing that I wanted to see improvement on going into the game against the Panthers was our offensive line. Also, we just looked terrible. Thankfully, our starters didn't play that first game. Andrew Thomas, Evan Neal, John Michael Schmitz, the rookie, played, and he actually did very well and held up his own. So he was really the only one I was very concerned about. But last game against the Panthers, Daniel Jones and Darren Waller looked great, looked very sharp. Daniel Jones went for 8 of his 9 pass attempts for 69 yards and a touchdown. And the chemistry looked great between the two of them. So I'm very excited about that. Another one that I thought performed really well, who I was looking at, is Bobby Okereke, who's our new starting linebacker there. He played 21 snaps, 4 tackles, 2 defensive stops, which is great. We haven't ever really been good at stopping the run, and I think he's really going to help that. So he's showing that he can really play for us. And the other one that I wanted to really mention was, and this is for Lucas, Bryce Ford-Wheaton. He's been doing really well, and it's actually being said that he might actually land on the 53-man roster spot for special teams. Last week against the Panthers, he had 2 targets for a total of 24 yards and 2 first downs. So he's really holding his own out there. So I'm excited because the starters looked really good against the Panthers. But we'll see what Saturday brings since we're going to be playing Rodgers and the Jets. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, so
All right.
I guess my quick question is, how has Saquon looked, coming in this preseason?
He hasn't played at all.
Oh, okay, just keep him fresh. That's probably smart.
Yeah, he's the only one that I haven't seen yet. Him and Dexter Lawrence both.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be a trend going forward for the next couple of years with these teams, especially the high value starters. They're not going to play much in the preseason. I mean, just too risky to risk any type of injury to one of your star players.
Yeah,
Absolutely, especially if they're ready. If they're ready to go and good to go, there's no reason to put them in.
Yeah. All right, what you got?
Hey Mal, quick question. How did Daniel Jones look? Did he get a couple of snaps?
Yeah, Daniel Jones looked great. He went 8 for 9. Most of his catches were to Waller, and his touchdown pass was to Paris Campbell. So he looked really good, and he even had a one rushing play for I think it was 6 yards. So he looked sharp. I hope they keep him out this weekend.
Okay, cool, good news. I'm gonna shift it over to the training camp news. With the Dallas, so far what I've seen is that they've been doing an amazing job of just competing with the first team and second team, and then first team on offense and defense. They've really been just hitting on all cylinders, especially with Zach Martin reconstructing his deal and returning. They were in Oxford, California the last couple of weeks, and their training camps have been on and off, in which towards the finale of their scrimmage, there was a big fight that broke out between Sam Williams and one of the linemen, in which Cowboys center Tyler Biadasz knocked him out, and then just fighting in general. Like they're just competing, and I really enjoy seeing how competitive the offense is compared to the defense, where it's like the offense get on one, the defense get them, and it just changes back to the offense. And it's really cool seeing that competitiveness back and forth. This past weekend, they head back to Frisco, Texas, and finally got a chance to see Dallas with their main starting 5. I really haven't seen that since the 2021 season. And overall, they had a scrimmage, and it was a solid scrimmage from what I saw. Dak was hitting his throws, getting tight end Jake Ferguson involved, as well as hitting Brandon Cooks on a 60-yarder, a 60-yard touchdown. And just seeing Trayvon Diggs and Stephon Gilmore locking down on the east side on the corner spot is really enjoyable to see. And Micah, just being Micah, wrecking. And I just love the competitiveness overall and what their training camp has done. One player that really kind of been taking a lot of heat is a cornerback, Kelvin Joseph, where they feel like he wasn't that number 2 draft pick that can be a top corner, in which he's been out-dueling Eric Scott Jr. in the preseason games, and where Eric Scott Jr., his rookie side is showing up, where he's gotten beat on some plays in the preseason games, but it's showing that Eric Scott's radar has dropped, in which Kelvin Joseph's radar has went up. So it pretty much flipped. So it's really looking like Kelvin Joseph is going to be that slot corner with Deron Bland.
That's good, man. I mean, it sounds like you got it all. It sounds like they're figuring it out. It sounds like you got a good grasp on what's going on with your training camp.
Yeah, it's really cool to see, because I really haven't been able to see the competitive side, in which all the positions are being a position battle, in which nothing is like handed anybody. They're going out there fighting, scratching and clawing to get that spot on the 53-man roster. And it's looking like most of the rookies from this draft class is going to make the 53-man roster, including Overshown, who's going to be on the IR list. And it's just really cool because each player was kind of like something added to the depth that Dallas has already had, because I believe they have a stacked team. And just adding to that and just molding it to compete with the other players has been great to see. It's definitely a great feel and sense of a difference compared to the past few seasons that has happened, in which I think this team is really locked in for this season, and I can't wait to see it on full display.
See you week 1 or all. That should be interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's ready.
Absolutely. Well, let me go into the Commanders here real quick. So news broke that Sam Howell was named the starter. I believe it was. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. It was before Game 2, right?
Yeah,
Right before.
It was right before Game 2 as the regular season starter, and there was really no competition here. Like, look, Jacoby Brissett is a great journeyman quarterback. He can get you around 500 with a good team, but he's not going to be a guy that changes your franchise. Like, the setup was for Sam Howell to succeed. Like, he had to lose the job, and he didn't. He showed a lot of poise, leadership, command of the offense. Obviously, there's still things that he has to work on as a second-year quarterback, but the promise is there, and I'm really excited about that. Besides that, Terry McLaurin, like we said at the beginning of the podcast, had an injury during the second preseason game. Does not seem to be a long-term injury. He should be ready before week 1 or by week 1 to be able to play. Besides that, just the offensive line, like I said, has been an issue. If an undrafted rookie, I can't remember his name for the life of me, but if he's one of the offensive linemen standing out in camp, then we got a problem. But it could also just be the fact that we have a really good defensive line. So I mean, if the Commanders have a weak point, it's going to be the offensive line. But I would say pretty much we're at least average to above average at every other position, because I feel good about Sam Howell.
That's fair, Lucas. I could agree with that.
Yeah, same here.
All right, let me talk about the Giants training camp. It's been a quiet week. We really haven't had too much going on. But the one thing that I did want to talk about is that's a little concerning to me, speaking of the offensive line, is that we don't have anybody set for the guard position yet. We actually have a guard rotation going down between Josh Zidu, Mark Lewinsky, and Ben Bredesen. I'm hoping that Ben Bredesen wins that battle there. He's the best guard that we have, but that is a little worrisome that we don't have that position really sought out yet. And the other thing I wanted to talk about with training camp is the fact that Dable came out and said that potentially we are going to be starting 2 of our rookie cornerbacks on both sides week 1, which would be Deontay Banks from round 1 and Trey Hawkins from round 6, who's actually been really holding his own and impressing me in camp. I'm nervous about it. I am also excited about it because it is pretty rare that 2 rookies will start in the backfield there. So I kind of want to see what you guys think about that.
I like
that's risky.
Yeah, no, it's definitely risky, and I think it all depends on, hopefully they don't have too many rookie mistakes, but you can't guarantee that. But I'm hoping for the best.
I think it'll help them, but also give them that confidence that they need, that they can go out there and show a display. Some might not know, but Kansas City, during their Super Bowl run, they had 2 rookies playing and pretty much held their own for the most part. So it's not like it's a rare, but if you get the guys out there early and they start to show plus and they're showing it in preseason, why not? Give them a shot. You feel like they earned it? They earned it. Go out there and show it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Giants really been slacking in depth or in talent in the cornerback position. So I'm willing to start from the bottom, and hopefully we can get something going there.
Will they even think about bringing in a veteran at the cornerback position just in case?
At this point, I don't know. I don't think so. I hope we do. I don't think we will. So I think it's all really going to rely on who we got right now. And I mean, we have Adoree Jackson, but he'll shift into the slot if both of them play outside. But Adoree's really good on the outside too. So I'm The only benefit that will do if we have Adoree in the slot would be week 1, since CD takes most of his snaps in the slot. But I guess we'll see what, cuts and waivers bring us, but I don't foresee a veteran coming in now.
That's definitely something to look forward to going into the season, throwing 2 rookies in the fire. I mean, because you're in a division with 3 teams with 3 good duos, so we'll see how that goes.
Absolutely. So, but go ahead, Maurice. You can go ahead and talk about your Eagles now.
Yeah, training camp news for the Eagles. It's been also a real quiet week. Like I said, a lot of the starters are just not playing, so I really can't give you guys stats or anything like that. But what I will mention is, it looks like it's pretty locked that Cam Jurgens will be the right guard starting for the Eagles going into the season. They drafted Tyler Steen in the 3rd round, but not because he doesn't have the talent. They see a lot in him. They just think the second year Cam Jurgens, who's moving from center to guard, will be a better shoe-in right now to play. So they're moving Steen out to, well, they haven't in the preseason games. They're moving him around a little bit to the left tackle and playing guard, just so they can have that flexibility going into the season if there is any injuries. One bit of news that happened this past week was Miles Jack retired. They brought him in with Zach Cunningham as linebacker depth, but it looks like Miles Jack is going to retire, and Zach Cunningham is actually going to make this team, and he might even be in line for the outside linebacker position next to Nakobe Dean. So we will see how that one goes. And like I said, I spoke on Sidney Brown. He's fighting for starting safety position. Reed Blankenship and Terrell Edmonds has the 2 starting safety positions locked down so far, but I can easily see sometime early in the season Sidney Brown get more and more snaps and eventually become a starter. And in other news, quarterback Marcus Mariota really hasn't looked that good. He hasn't looked great at all.
I'm honestly a little shocked about that. I thought he was going to be better for you guys.
Yeah, he's actually been underwhelming in my opinion. He's been underwhelming. He simply can't throw an accurate ball. I mean, it's just blatantly obvious. Everything is 5 feet over the receiver's heads. I mean, I don't know what's going on with his accuracy. Everything is sailing. But their 3rd string quarterback is Ian Book. Excuse me, not Ian Book. He's a 4th string. Tanner McKee. He's actually looked pretty good. I must say, he's actually thrown a really well thrown ball. He's mobile enough. But I mean, I can only say as much as I can because he's only playing against 3rd string defenses. So, but he's looked better than Mariota. So we will see how that one goes.
Maybe it was just the Netflix quarterback show that really messed with his head. Who knows?
I mean,
I don't know. I just think Mariota was always known as that running quarterback, like he was at Oregon. He really didn't have that arm like normal, and using more of his legs. The passing, his accuracy is just not going to be what it is because he's so much used to being a running quarterback.
Yeah, and that's the reason why they brought him in too. Because he can run the RPO, but at some point you gotta pass the ball. I mean, you gotta. We have a good, talented receiving core and tight ends, so we gotta get them the ball. And if Mariota can't throw an accurate ball, then I don't want to see him. Worst case scenario, of course, if Jalen Hurts is not there, I don't want to see him. And here in Philadelphia, we have a factuation with backup quarterbacks. We did win a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback, so
Sure.
we're locked into who becomes that 2nd string quarterback.
Yeah, that's fair.
Of course, knock on wood.
Yeah, I think on that note, let's go ahead and switch gears now. And the big NFL news right now is that the Indianapolis Colts have given star running back Jonathon Taylor permission to seek out a trade because they're not going to give him the contract extension that he's looking for. Let's talk about our division first. Here, guys, I want you guys to chime in real quick. Which team is most likely would most likely benefit from getting him the most? Like, which team needs him the most?
In a division?
In our division here, in our in the NFC East.
Well, it would be the Cowboys.
I would say so too. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
look,
Cowboys.
they've been connected to them, and I think look, I mean, out of all of our teams running backs, I know Tony Pollard's good, but I think that the Cowboys have the weakest depth right now, at least on paper, until they prove otherwise. And Jerry Jones didn't close the door on it altogether either, but he did say that he did like their running back room as of now. But yeah, Saquon has the Giants set, the both Commanders and Eagles have really good depth there, and outside of Tony Pollard, the rest of them are young players in Dallas. So I think the Giants make the most sense. What do you think, Earl?
Well, I know Jonathon Taylor. He's a good running back, but he's also brittle. The situation with him is he's going to be looking for a contract in which Dallas has Tony Pollard under the tag, and they have to see how Pollard does under the tag before they can look to get another running back. The only situation I see is if Rico Dowdle, who's trying to be that running back 2 for Dallas, he's shown that he can run the ball, but over the last few years, he's been injury prone. So I'm not wishing bad injury on Rico, but if he can be that back in which they think he can be, then I don't think it's not necessarily need to bring in Jonathon Taylor unless they're looking to have a running back that they're going to hit him with the bag. But with Deuce Vaughn there, he's going to be splitting carries, but he's going to have his own particular package with Tony Pollard. I'm banking on Tony Pollard only getting around 15 carries, maybe 18, and then splitting it with the other 2 running backs. So with the West Coast offense, they're more than likely going to have 3 running backs. I would be shocked if it's 4, but 3 it is.
Okay. So on that same note, which team would be least likely to benefit from him being acquired in this division?
The Giants.
Yeah, I'm going to say
That's just
Giants
my personal
too.
opinion.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
I
don't.
just think-
I think you guys are solid. But go ahead, Mal.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say that with Saquon only being on the 1-year deal, and what we did, and we talked about it on the previous podcast, like with Saquon kind of not getting what he really wanted there. I just don't think my GM is going to give Jonathon Taylor what he wants at all.
Mm-hmm. Earl, Maurice, you got anything to say to that, or are you guys agreeing?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Now, overall, not just in our division, but which team's most likely which team will he play for this season?
The Miami Dolphins.
Miami? What do you say, Earl?
I have 2 teams.
Okay.
I can see him going to either Kansas City or Minnesota.
Ooh, Kansas City, that's a sneaky one.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are both good choices.
I would say Minnesota because they only have Madison from what I'm looking at because Dalvin Cook went to the Jets.
Yeah.
So more than likely, the Vikings need that running back in which Madison, I don't think he can carry that load in which Dalvin Cook did. But it also means that they technically need that number 1 running back.
Okay, Maurice?
From all the reports, they say Miami. I'll go with Miami as well. I mean, they're a contending team. They have, can we figure out, do we know what the actual trade value of Jonathon Taylor is?
Ooh, that's a good question because, the Colts
second
want a first-round pick or something equivalent to, but is a 24-year-old running back that missed most of the season last year, but when healthy, an elite running back. Is he worth a first-round pick?
Well, first of all, he's only 24. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think he's
Dang.
a first-round pick because he was drafted in the 2nd round.
But he's played above his draft value.
Yeah, the production is there for the Warner first round pick.
Yeah.
But also,
Yeah, I would agree.
looking at his injury as well, in order to relinquish the first rounder. So they're looking for 2, which I think is crazy. But if you can get 1 and maybe a third, that would be cool. Or if you got two second round picks and a 4th, maybe. But I doubt a team would relinquish 2 first round picks for Jonathon Taylor.
Oh no, they're only asking for 1 first round pick, Earl.
They're asking for 1?
That's my understanding, right, Maurice?
Yeah, but if you want to equate that to 2 second rounders or a second round and like a third in another year, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would equate to it.
Yeah. They're only asking for 1 first round pick, Earl, or the equivalent of.
Ooh, I don't know. I'll definitely give him a 2 and another draft pick for him, but it just depends which team would fight to do it because they still have to pay him. So whoever,
Yeah, that's the tricky part. Like the good news is he's only 24, so you could pay him a good contract and him still be worth it by the end of it.
Yeah. So basically, you have to find a team that could take on his contract and is willing to give up a first round pick.
You gotta find a team that has a rookie quarterback, because that's the way you're going to be able to afford his long-term deal too.
Okay. I still want money on the Dolphins though.
Let me think about this for a second. A guy on his first rookie running quarterback. I mean, first rookie contract quarterbacks here. Well, okay. Here's a dark horse for you guys. What about Seattle?
Nah, they're stacked. I don't think.
They got Kenneth Walker.
They got Charbonnet.
Yeah, Charbonnet. Yeah, I was thinking the Bears.
Oh,
yeah, I was thinking
well,
the
no,
Bears
they got good
too.
depth there. They have Herbert's not bad, and they got somebody else there. Earl, who's the other guy there?
They got Khalil Herbert.
And who's the other guy besides Herbert?
Raheem Mostert?
No.
No.
Oh, what team is he on now?
Oh, who knows?
Not sure. He's been bounced from team to team.
I mean, Bears are an option. From what I read recently, there were 6 teams that have inquired and 2 teams that presented a deal. But I guess if I have to choose a team that I've been hearing a lot is Buffalo. Buffalo makes sense. They need a running back. If they get Jonathon Taylor, they should be, if not the favorite, one of the 2 favorites in the AFC.
Well,
they will pair him with Dalvin Cook's brother, James Cook.
Yeah.
So we've had this conversation before. The value of a running back in today's game is so much lower than what it used to be.
Yep.
And he's like you said, he's 24, so you're going to get good value for him for a couple years. So if I'm a contending team, why not go for it?
I agree with it. Just if you're gonna give him the bag and stuff like that, but also give up a pick for it, that means you're going all in with him to help your team get over that hump. So it just depends. Like, knowing Jerry Jones, I don't know, he might throw a smoke screen, and then next thing you know, by next week we'll probably trade it for him some way, somehow. I don't know, but
that's not good news for Tony Pollard.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, especially with him on the tag. So, I mean, they're putting faith in Pollard right now, and so far in training camp, he's looked good, just recovering from that injury. I wouldn't want to try to hinder that by bringing in another running back in which you could actually have something already in the running back room now by bringing someone else who's also coming off an injury.
Well, Earl, let me ask you this. If the Cowboys could get him for Deuce Vaughn and a 3rd round pick, would you be happy with that deal?
HE double hockey sticks, no.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and switch over to our poll question of the week, right, Mal?
Yeah. So the answers were the same on both, but we'll go into it a little more in specific. So the poll question of the week was, are the Dallas Cowboys true NFC contenders now with Zach Martin back? On Twitter, it was 43% yes, 22% no, and 35% maybe. And then let me just pull up Facebook here. I had it up. Okay. And then this was a majority yes. Looks like only 3 people voted no, and then 3 people voted maybe. So what do you guys think? Yes, does it make them contenders?
Yeah, I would say that it probably does. I mean, the NFC is not the strong conference between the two of them. So yeah, I would say that. Look, I mean, the Cowboys most years have been contenders. It's just they no offense, Earl, but they usually come up short in the playoffs. So yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think they're contenders. The question is, will they actually contend? Is the question. No offense, Earl.
Well, I believe they are contenders for this. I really think with him there, they legitimately have their best 5 at the offensive line, in which I consider them a top 10 offensive line. With this season coming up, they got a chance to prove doubters wrong in that regard, in showing that they are dominant and that they're showing that they're not a little brother to other teams. So yeah, I believe that they're definitely contenders.
Yeah, anytime you
Maurice.
can add, anytime you can add, the best guard in football, that's going to make you a lot better. On top of that, the conference not being the strongest conference, I mean, it comes down to whoever wins the NFC East division has a strong chance of at least getting to the conference final.
I would agree with that, Maurice. I think we got a tough division this year, tougher than usual. But yeah, no, I also think that the Cowboys are contenders. And honestly, even if he didn't come back, I still think they might have been. They're good in the trenches. So,
like, not even gonna cap on that. They needed him because
really,
from the preseason,
you think it matters that much?
Yeah, from what I've seen from preseason and going into the beginning week 1 against the Giants has a top defensive front. And if they show a sign of weakness, then right after that, we play the Jets. Pretty much 5 teams at the beginning, we're playing with someone in the top 10, maybe top 5 in defensive line. And if Zach Martin's not there for any of those, it's going to be some problem. But
that's fair.
I saw progression in rookie Tyler Bass for Dallas, and he's like a backup to Zach Martin, in which he's going to make the 53-man roster. And with Zach Martin there, that shows the leadership, which also christens them to have the best 5. And I would rather go against the Giants with our best 5 and go against that one of the top defensive fronts in the NFL. So I wouldn't sell that short or anything. So I'm glad that Zach Martin's back.
Yeah. So
all right. Sorry. Go ahead, Maurice.
Yeah. So basically, we all agree with the polls.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean. Yeah. Definitely better.
All right. And on that note, let's go ahead and wrap this up. And I think this might be, if not our shortest, one of our shortest podcasts yet, guys. Congratulations on that. All right, guys, remember, thank you again for everybody that came out and listened to our podcast. Remember, you can always follow us on Spotify, 13 Rings Podcast. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, 13_Rings Podcast. And make sure you like us on Facebook, 13 Rings Podcast. We will always have poll questions. If you ever want to make a comment, please make sure that you comment and like our statuses and our updates. And we will see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much for listening to us again. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, guys.
Peace.